Good evening, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Wednesday evening, so let's begin. First up, 6 new deaths attributed to COVID-19. 2 new long-term care facility outbreaks identified. More testing capacity brought online. 6 more deaths linked to COVID-19 were announced Wednesday as health officials said 2 more outbreaks of the coronavirus were identified at long-term care facilities. Health Commissioner Lori Shipperton said an outbreak of COVID-19 at Hackett Hill Center has led to 22 residents and 2 staff members testing positive for the virus. At Mountain Ridge Center in Franklin, 13 residents and 2 staff members tested positive. According to the latest data, there are 2,010 known coronavirus cases in New Hampshire, with 60 deaths. No new deaths have been reported in 3 days. Shipperton said there have been 2,054 COVID-19 cases in the state and 66 deaths linked to the virus. She said 259 people have been hospitalized. More testing capacity for the coronavirus was being brought online Wednesday, with state officials saying anyone experiencing possible symptoms of COVID-19 should be able to get tested. Shipperton said people who think they might have COVID-19 should call their doctor, who can contact the Department of Health and Human Services. State health workers will get in touch with the patient and schedule an appointment at the nearest testing location. 5 testing centers have been set up, and Shipperton said they can collectively perform 500 tests per day. There are also mobile teams deployed across the state that can each do up to 100 tests daily. Now let's take a look at COVID-19 information, what you need to know. There are 2,054 number of people in New Hampshire have tested positive for COVID-19. 1,028,217 number of people in the United States who have tested positive. 66 number of deaths from COVID-19 in New Hampshire. 259 number of people who have been hospitalized with COVID-19 in New Hampshire. And 59,446 number of deaths from COVID-19 in the United States. This map of New Hampshire right here shows you where cases of COVID-19 are in towns and cities of New Hampshire. There are 436 cases of COVID-19 in Manchester. This chart here shows you new cases each day in New Hampshire. In the purple, daily new positive COVID-19 cases. In the orange, new hospitalizations. And in the red are the deaths. Why don't the numbers add up? And here's why. Current cases. Total current COVID-19 cases are in the purple, and current hospitalizations are in the orange. Cumulative totals. In the purple, total positive COVID-19 cases, orange, total hospitalizations, red, deaths, and blue, recovered. This chart here shows you by age group. This chart here shows you by female and male. This chart here shows you risk information. This chart here shows you race slash ethnicity of cases. And this chart shows you the percent of New Hampshire population. And your common symptoms: fever, lack of smell, cough, chills, and difficult breathing. How it spreads, and prevention tips. Summer camps say they'll face challenges when reopening. Fewer children will be served because of coronavirus, officials say. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Ray Brewer.
Say hello. Say hello.
As summer nears, concern is increasing for parents who send their children to camp.
They want to know that we're going to be open. That is actually their biggest concern.
In a presentation to the governor's reopening task force, Chris Emond of the Boys and Girls Club said there are some common denominators between summer camps and child care centers.
Health checks, reducing ratio, reducing the number of kids in each group, making sure that staff are checked before they come in.
It will also mean changes for day camps, perhaps fewer field trips.
And also some of the places we might go, state parks, beaches, I know they'll be open, but just given some of the restrictions that we're hearing about, it may be difficult for us to unload a whole bus of kids and not take up too much space.
This graph shows what has happened to the child care industry since February. Capacity has been reduced to about a tenth of what it was. If parents go back to work, additional space would need to open.
Great worry also about the school-age children. They're not in school right now, and making sure they have good, safe places to go.
But whether it's child care or camps, Eamon says both will need financial assistance.
Serving about perhaps 50% fewer clients while still having the same fixed costs, the same facility costs.
And while not specifically committing to anything, the governor says children are a priority.
If we have to make tight budget cuts or certain constraints or delay certain funding on certain programs, I can tell you what, it won't be for kids programs. If anything, we're going to boost those up.
Both summer camps and child care centers say they also need some sort of liability protection for operating in a pandemic, and they'll be looking to the legislature for that. Reporting live in Manchester, Ray Brewer, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And let's take a look at your coronavirus impact for Massachusetts. And here are today's numbers for Massachusetts. New cases, 1,963. Total tested, 2,065,618. Total cases, 60,265. Long-term care home deaths, 1,982. And total deaths, 3,405. That is the numbers from Massachusetts. One new coronavirus-related death, more than 600 recoveries reported in Maine. Let's take a listen to that video from WMTW News 8 Maine.
The New Hampshire Department of Corrections has immediate openings for corrections officers. Apply today.
We're expecting the Daily Presser from the Maine CDC at 2 o'clock this afternoon. You can watch that right here on Channel 8 WMTW and online. The Maine CDC just releasing new numbers a few minutes ago. There are now 1,056 confirmed cases. That's up 16 cases from yesterday. 615 people have recovered, and sadly, one more person has died. That brings the total now to 52.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And now let's take a look at your U.S. stock market and see how your U.S. stock market closed for this Wednesday evening. And here's a look at that U.S. stock market for all of you for this Wednesday evening. Your Dow Jones Industrial Average closed in the green, went up. Your Nasdaq closed in the green, went up. S&P 500 closed in the green, went up. Gold closed in the green, went up. Oil closed in the green, went up. U.S. 10-year closed in flat. Oil closed in green, went up. Euro/USD closed in the green, went up. And VIX closed in the red and went down. Stocks jumped 2%, putting the S&P 500 on track for its best month since 1974. Stocks jumped Wednesday on the back of positive data from a potential coronavirus treatment from Gilead Sciences, while investors designated a sharp drop in U.S. economy activity. Trump signs executive order to keep meat processing plants open under defense production. With more on that, let's listen to ABC News' Matt Gutman.
The numbers are staggering. Over 85 food and meat processing plants have COVID cases. Over 20 meatpacking plants closed entirely. Now, the president's order tries to address that as consumers start to feel the pinch, but his order is short on specifics on how those plants will be kept open and how workers will be kept safe. This morning, with beef increasingly scarce, President Trump promising to take action, signing an executive order under the Defense Production Act to ensure processing plants stay open and run at the maximum extent possible as part of the U.S.'s critical infrastructure.
That'll solve any liability problems where they had certain liability problems, and we'll be in very good shape. There's plenty of supply.
The meat industry has been sounding the alarm. Tyson Foods chairman publishing a full-page ad in several newspapers, including the Washington Post, writing, "The food supply chain is vulnerable, and that due to plant closures, millions of pounds of meat will disappear from the supply chain." Some experts now warning we could see these beef, chicken, and pork shortages by the end of the week, and a greater disruption to the food supply chain in coming weeks, right as we head into summer.
The factories are not producing enough meat for the food supply chain. Then a little later on, probably in the next couple months, they won't have enough livestock.
And with that urgent call to reopen the processing plants, the safety of workers a rising concern after more than 6,000 U.S. meatpacking and food processing workers were infected or exposed to COVID-19.
They're going to have continuing issues on the lines because some people are afraid to go to work. If workers don't show up and there are 20% of the line that's gone, then there's going to be a slowing of the product that ends up in the stores.
Over 800 employees testing positive at the Smithfield pork plant in South Dakota, including Michael Gatlauk, who says this notice for a $500 attendance bonus enticed employees to keep working.
So would you say that lots of people on the line were in the same position, that $500 meant a bit of a cushion?
Oh, yes, definitely. $500 is a lot. And that's why I'm saying, again, that was a really bad move to offer the bonus at that time. Yeah, because people were going to make an effort to come in, even if they felt sick, just to get the bonus.
Smithfield tells ABC News that bonuses were being paid in recognition of the dedication of its workforce, and that employees who missed work due to COVID-19 exposure or diagnosis would be paid and still receive the bonus.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And thank you for watching this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night and bye, everyone.